about that.
Should probably turn that ring around.
You know, I know there were a couple of things we were gonna have people come today's meeting,
Yeah.
Yep, the fire chief is supposed to be here.
and I just saw his truck go the other direction.
With lights on?
No, no,
Okay, well,
I did hear from Travers.
yes,
Yes.
Their roof is metal on their building,
Oh,
which I was surprised to hear that, but
yeah, he also said that he has asked for several people for quotes and nobody will get back
Right.
to him
yeah,
with
that's what he told
anything.
me too.
We're
Yeah.
starting the procurement process on probably Thursday, so maybe then we can get a roundabout idea of what it'll be. But I gave a deadline of February 8th, so.
Okay. And he explained to me the reason he wants a 4-door truck is to be able to transport his employees.
Mm-hmm. And we do have a new quote floating around. This is his new estimate.
that was the crew cab discussion, right?
Yeah.
What town does the fire chief live
Hubbardston,
It's 53.9, so basically 54,000.
Which is-
55,
68.
62, wow.
is what we had, yeah.
Oh,
62 even. And then I'll let Sandy kind of go into greater detail on this, but with some debt this year clearing out and not having any new debt to take on, there's a way that we can fund some of these items in the budget instead of on here, so I'll let her go into that a little bit.
Sure, so, we had FY '23 is the last year that we're making a payment on. It was a, multi-purpose municipal bond that we were paying about $150,000 in principal a year on. So that frees up that $150,000 for FY '24. However, best practice is to have a certain amount of debt. Our bond rating and such is affected by what percentage our debt is and stuff. So we wanna maintain that level of debt, cause we're right at that number. But the thought for FY '24 was to pay down an additional $100,000 on the fire truck that we still owe on. But that would free up $50,000, so we could use the $50,000 this year toward the ambulance, or we could use it for the Main Street repaving. And it's still kind of a placeholder, whereas next year, when they do finance the fire truck, then a new fire truck, we would still have that $150,000 earmarked for that, where otherwise, if we put it in the general fund, it's gone. You know, if it becomes part of the regular budget, it's gone, and we don't wanna do that.
so it's kinda like a 1-year bonus.
It's a 1 year, one and done, but, so, in that respect, it is kinda good news, as far as maybe being able to fulfill another request or.
Did I didn't think we had a request for paying addition for paving, I thought that was.
The fire
Oh, the
station?
Fire
station,
sure.
okay, when you said Main Street,
And
that
he
was.
did do a request, the request is $100,000 every year for additional paving.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Travis.
for the road
For
paving
Travis,
too, but
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking of the
Yeah.
The
redoing.
parking lot at,
The downtown area.
Right, no, this
Okay.
is, so that's something to think about.
Yep, that's a good thing.
I had a quick question regarding this year.
Sure.
This mentions an F-250. Here it was an
F2.
F-450.
It's a different truck. He
they're going with a
was
smaller
able
version?
to, I believe, he was able to, he contacted this company and was able to work this deal out, and he's very,
He's okay with using a 250 instead of a 450
is.
because, okay, I
They're
just
not
wanna make
plowing with the director's truck anyhow, or doing anything really like that, so.
Okay, well, that's great. I mean, that's significant savings.
Mhm.
yes.
Thank you.
They would obviously do the little plowing here or there, but they're not plowing the main drags
right.
or. All right, and the representatives of the library are here if we wanna talk with them about their requests. Come on up.
We don't bite.
We don't know about him though.
I don't bite.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Good.
Yeah. I'm Connie Strickmetter. I'm the chair of the
Hi,
trustees.
Tommy. Good to see you again.
And I'm Morgan Brinker, I'm another library trustee.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. So,
Alright, so his request for the
6,000.
architect,
$6,000 for architecture. And we wanted to get some more information. for-
Yeah. Yeah, so we have a couple of capital projects that we've gotten funding for from either CPC. We got CPC funds in 2020 for Brick Foundation, and then 2021 was first floor rehab, and then we have some money for pointing. And so we have a lot of projects that we have money for, but we're kind of struggling a little bit with like how to execute and get them done, and like making sure we're doing things in the proper order. Like we don't want to spend money doing like window replacements and then like 2 years later we have to change it because we got money to do something else, right? So we wanted to be able to hire like a architect designer to kind of help us kind of prioritize and kind of give us the directions like what projects we should work on first, so that we are kind of doing things methodically and kind of being good stewards of the money we've received and not, you know, having to undo stuff later.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Why an architect? That sounds more like project planning.
Yeah, I mean, so I think we were talking about it as like an architect, designer, planner, so I mean, it could be a project manager too. I mean, so I
Okay.
think we probably need to look at that a little bit more closely. I know in our meetings, we've talked about it as an architect planner person.
Correct. In order to keep in mind the historical nature of the building and honor the historical nature, and also make sure that some of the projects such as work around, we talked about the basement and things like that, if we did one of the projects, that we're not undoing it when we go in to do another project.
Sure.
So the prioritization of that, but also keeping in mind having somebody that has the background of keeping it
In the right order.
in the right order, but also keeping the historical nature of our building. So foundation work in particular, and we are also working with Travis at DPW with regards to work around the foundation of gain their input because of knowledge of the town and drainage around the building.
Okay, so Travis is working with
Aware
you.
and giving us input, I believe.
Well, we are gonna try to work with
Work with-
DPW to maybe help us with some of the projects. Like, can they maybe help with the repair of the foundation? Like, you know, we have the supplies, but can somebody from DPW kind of help us do the foundation, or do the foundation repairs?
Oh, interesting.
And they, I believe, have come through when we have previously done walkthrough and talked about, or addressing and saying, hey, are you aware of this? And pointing out other things around our property and foundation.
Gotcha. Thank you.
and how did you come up with that dollar
It's like,
figure?
I just did an estimate, like I saw that, typical hourly rate is $150 for like an architect designer, and I estimated, I think 40 hours. So I think I got to 6,000 that way.
And do you have somebody in mind already?
Not at the moment. I mean, I don't have anybody in mind, no.
Okay.
We haven't gotten to that point yet.
but you have resources that you can tap on that may give you good suggestions of people who have done this type of work or can help you with this type of work?
I think we're gonna start to research that, and, you know, maybe we can try and reach out to some others. I mean, if you all have people that you know of or have worked with, that's helpful for us too. We're maybe also hoping maybe like Nate had some information that maybe he could help us with. Prior to Ryan leaving, he had said he would maybe help us try and get
Absolutely.
things going.
Yep.
Mm.
So we're hoping to be able to rely on some of the town resources as well.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
So how much total money do you have standing by?
We have, let me just,
We don't need it to the penny.
No, just, so we have, for library brick repair, we have about $20,000 for library brick repair. First floor rehab, there's 19,362. And then we have another $5,000 from CIPC from y'all, which I believe was 10,000 at one point for more work on the foundation.
Yep.
And then we have another 8,000 for foundation repair. So we've gone CPC, CIPC, a couple of years to kind of start to piecemeal funding to kind of get this
And
done.
you hired an engineer to look at the foundation, right?
Yes, I believe Tom did hire an engineer to look at the foundation. He had somebody, I think that was in the CPC proposal.
So just to recap, the first, I didn't catch the first number you had there again.
20,000 for brick. 19,362 for first floor rehab
5,000 from CIPC that we gave them.
and 8,000 from CIPC.
Or
so
CPC, 8,000 from CPC.
CPC.
CPC. Okay.
Too many initials that sound the
Yeah.
same.
And what had happened too is last year, we withdrew 2 requests from CIPC, because we knew we were getting a backlog, right? And
Yep.
And
yep.
so we withdrew the, flooring replacement in the basement
Yeah, yeah.
and, sorry, and more library foundation. Apparently the foundation's got we have some work we need to do with the foundation. So we withdrew those 2 requests last year. And then there's more CIPC requests on the timeline for window replacement and a boiler
So just
replacement.
to be clear on my end, you currently have the 20, the 19, the 5, and the 8, those, that you have available to you potentially to utilize, okay?
Yes, that's correct.
But they've been already quote unquote targeted for very specific work.
Yes.
Okay.
And no work has been done on the foundation.
We fixed some of it had to do with the well, so we've closed up the well in front of the library.
Mhm.
So there's been little pieces of things that have happened, but the actual foundation itself, I don't believe we've had anybody actually come in to do it. What we're running into challenges with is, a little bit of timing. Like when we reach out to somebody to try and repair the foundation, they're either like booked for the season already, or they might not necessarily wanna take on the work because it's a smaller project. So that was, that's one of the reasons why we kind of want like a project manager or an architect design to kind of help us maybe give recommendations or help us figure out how can we maybe put these projects into a nice bundle that might make it more attractive for like a contract
somebody to
general
come in and
manager
do
to
it.
come in and do it.
I think the other thing to keep in mind here is that since you have received the funding, prices have obviously
Absolutely.
changed.
Yeah, and we do have, we have some money in our trust funds that if the costs went over that, we would probably be able to dip into some of our trusts to kind of cover those costs.
Gotcha. All right. I have no further questions.
I don't even.
May I ask a couple of questions just about the
Of course.
process? Just because I think we're trying to figure this all out and making sure that,
Sure.
we aren't caught unawares. So, proposals always start or are sent out in November? Is that
Right around that
right around
time,
that
yep.
time? Okay. And then I noticed, in the 23 to 27 plan for FY 24, we do have windows and boiler on the plan. are we supposed to resubmit in that year to say we want to do that again?
That
Okay,
is
so even
correct.
though it's on that, even though it's there, we need to,
It's a long-term projection that we
Right.
have this sort of like on our radar,
yep.
but
I just wasn't sure if it was already submitted, if it had been submitted once, if it was, if it
it
went
was
forward.
presented to us as something that would be coming into the future, but it's not necessarily something that we already have budgeted. The other thing to remember is this from year to year, the CIPC funding does change. And as a result of that, sometimes things get pushed from one year to
Absolutely.
the other because the funding is just not available.
Okay, no, that's just helpful to know that, I mean,
Yep.
I don't think we could really take on a boiler and, window replacements with some of these other projects, so
That
it's
boiler
fine.
would be a pretty big
Yeah.
deal.
Because if you look at what I have on my screen, I didn't completely take you guys for your other projects off, but we did push them out.
Okay.
Because they were both relatively large scale, and we did want to have this conversation with you about the $6,000 and how it
Okay.
played into these other two projects, which it
Okay.
does.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, perfect.
Now, do you have a comment about the $6,000 in procurement?
it would be under the threshold, so I would work with them on that if they inevitably did get funded from here, because I think it would help them set up a proper plan on what is appropriate
Yeah.
in the coming years, especially if they're honest in coming to here and saying that they're not 100% sure.
I just think that number is a little light.
Quite possibly.
That should be closer to 10.
Yeah. And we are inevitably going to have to meet again to finalize the report. So
Yep.
I can work with them to see if that's even a feasible number between now and then. Call a couple people and see what's reasonable.
Sure. And if you can get a resource, obviously.
Yeah,
Are you thinking an OPM versus an architect?
likely. Sounds cheaper.
May I ask what is an OPM?
An owner's project manager.
What was the first word?
Owners.
Owners, okay.
And that's why I was asking as to whether or not you were already looking at an architect for a particular reason versus.
Yeah, I mean, I've done like a preliminary search, but no, I don't have any.
No, this,
thoughts.
and I think you're doing the right thing, and that is you're trying to make sure that you are prioritizing things correctly so that you're not undoing things in the future that you already have done and then therefore have potentially wasted resources that are important. So, yeah, any other questions that you would have?
Just one other question. I noticed on the CIPC committee website, the capital improvement plan was FY 20 to 24, and then on the director's or town administrator's website is the 23 to 27. I'm just wondering, I went to the CIP, so I didn't find some of our other stuff until like a couple weeks later. Like, is it possible to kind of update that page with the
Absolutely.
current?
That's why I sent that
plan?
email the other night about everybody kind of taking a look at their website, because by no fault of anybody's, the website kind of did fall behind during the time of transition. And as much as I do know how to work the website, I don't have quite yet the vast knowledge that I would need to know every name and every position and what's wrong. And so I did, if you could check out the library trustees and library website, everyone check out their own. Like right now, I know the CIPC website doesn't even have the correct chairman. So,
Okay. Those are my only questions, so.
and then the fire chief is coming back. He said about 5 minutes ago that he would be here in 15 minutes. So if we want to talk
Oh.
about,
Plenty of room,
I feel badly because he said, just making sure there's no meeting tonight. And I didn't read that as no. So he just said, yes, sir.
Well, thank you all for inviting
No,
us.
thank you
and,
so much
you
for
know,
coming in.
we
Yeah, appreciate it.
so.
It's hard to prioritize without the information.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And we are looking for members if you're interested.
I think my plate is kind of full right now.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. Hope you have a good meeting.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate it.
So I saw Dan Gallant
Did you?
last week.
How is he?
He's very well. He bid on a playground project I put on the street and got it.
Uh-huh.
Did he move to Sterling?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Oh, he's no longer in
Travis?
No, no. His girls are Worcester Academy now, I guess.
Hmm.
And he's not involved in any local politics in Sterling.
Good for
Billy
him.
Cadwell's cool. I like him enough.
Very good.
You work directly for the town, right?
Who?
You?
Yeah. That was Rowley.
Is anyone else gonna be coming in besides the chief? or-
Nope.
No?
No, because Travis, his answers were that we are having a hard time getting the quote for the roof, and that he wanted to bring people to training and finding a more inexpensive quote.
Okay.
Then Sandy and I have been kind of playing with numbers to see about proposing things to you guys, so we'll call that what, 54?
Yeah.
Yeah, 54. And then if we put this into the other way, even with, it was calling this 89 instead of 100. We're still, what was it, 370 we were looking to get to? Yeah, we're still at 368.
We want to be at 370?
Yeah, that's the number we.
Just add to the architect line item. The 6,000's not gonna cut it.
Or the road repair,
Yeah.
make Travis happy.
At least have to call this something.
Giving him a new truck.
Of course, you want it 9,995, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's about 9,500.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm at 371.5.
Yeah.
If the architect goes out for 10,000 or more, it has to go out to public bid as opposed to simple solicitation.
So that's your suggestion, is to up that to 9,500 for
Yeah.
the,
Just give them some wiggle room. Whatever you do, don't call Colliers.
No.
Can't afford them. I have them on 2 projects right now.
And should we change the title of the truck since it's not an F-450 now?
Yeah.
does the truck include the plow, or is the plow gonna need to be purchased
I wanna say
separately?
the plow needs to be purchased separately.
That's what I was thinking,
Uh-huh.
it seemed to me he had mentioned that,
Yeah.
so.
And the plows aren't cheap.
No. It's all
And the one
steel.
that they currently have is not usable on this
No.
truck.
They'll put it on a different, well, the vehicle that he's currently using is a older Ford Explorer, so it
Yeah.
doesn't have.
It didn't have a plow
Doesn't
on
have
it.
anything.
Yeah.
No,
You wouldn't put a plow on that unibody, no.
The condition of that, if they don't have.
Yeah, it would, if it could even lift the
Because
front end.
a plow's gonna bring us right back up to where we were.
Yeah, you're right.
he could sand with the Explorer though, you just put it where the holes are and let
No.
the sand fall out.
Oh, while we're waiting, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Yep,
I will second that motion.
all right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Sandy.
Anonymous?
Thank you.
Let me see if I can get Travis on the phone real quick.
Boy, we got a lot done.
Hey there, how you doing? Good, good. Wait, we do end up having a couple questions for you, so I'm gonna put you on speakerphone with CIPC. Travis, CIPC.
Hey, Travis.
Travis.
Hi,
How you doing?
Your new quote, that's without a plow?
Correct. The other one was without a plow also. To add a plow is like 10 grand.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That would bring us right back to where we were at the 63.
I have a plow package with it, so later on I could put a plow on it.
That's,
So the plan would be to get the truck, but no plow until sometime in the future,
Correct.
All right.
okay?
And you're content, well, as content as you're going to be going from the F450 to the F250?
Yeah.
And you believe it would be appropriate and useful?
Yes.
All right.
good, I mean, that, we wanna make sure.
Okay,
Anyone have any other questions? All right, Travis, sorry for bothering you.
Yep, no problem. Anytime.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
You said earlier the new roof is metal roof?
Yep.
Okay, good, that's great.
That explains the cost.
I'm sorry?
That explains the cost.
Well, it does, but the longevity is what you're really looking for.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
But when they leak,
didn't last too long on the school.
Well, if it's built appropriately, that's the big issue.
lowest qualified bidder. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, well, that is also true. There's somebody coming in.
that's what happened, chief.
Hi, Chief. Sorry about that.
Hello, that's all right. I didn't see that email on Thursday, so when I read it, it sounded like postponed, but I didn't know if it was this one or if it was the postponed meeting is gonna be on Monday. So that's where the confusion came in.
No problem.
You're home, all settled in for the night.
Yeah, it just changed, yeah.
Been in Ashby lately?
Um,
I hear your name up there all the time.
in Ashby?
Yeah. Thought you were working part-time up there for a while.
Townsend,
Oh, Townsend?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah. We do go to Ashby once in a while,
Yeah.
but not enough where they should know my name.
All right, Chief, thank you for coming in. We just wanted to have a conversation about two of your requests. Forward it to the members to start.
Project the paving for the station.
Yes.
Any estimates from that?
I've reached out to Travis. It's one of those things where it's probably should have been paved a few years ago, and then it kind of popped in my head. Well, maybe with the this town center project, maybe the company could do it then. So I reached out to Travis, and he was like, he tried the same thing for the Worcester Road when they were paving that, to do some paving in the highway barn, and he said they wouldn't have anything to do with that. They only focus on the project that they were assigned to. So I asked him how much he thought the estimate would be for that, and Travis said between 40 and 50,000 to repave that.
Is
And
that
that-
going around the back?
Yeah, it's basically the front and then the side, but I don't know how much of the side, because it's not fully paved on the side. There's like part of it that goes down the middle up against the building, and then there's part that goes like halfway of that, and then the rest of it's just dirt up until that dumpster area. So
So would it be planned to have it all paved or just replace what's existing?
replace what's existing, and if there was that small area where it's dirt, if they could fit that in there, then fine, but at least at minimum do what's there.
Okay.
And then for the ambulance, you got ARPA funds for $250.
I believe so. I haven't received a confirmation, but I've seen it in meetings, heard it in meetings. So, but I haven't officially got it. But I believe it's $250. Yes.
And do you have a current quote for an ambulance?
I have an email from, I believe it was the end of August, with one of the reps. At that time, it was $330,000. That's why I said 350, because I'm sure that price has probably already gone up a couple percent since then.
Can you ask them for an updated quote, just to,
Yep.
alright, is there anything else?
Then my only other question, and it's not something we need to talk about tonight, would be the feasibility of slightly used fire trucks in the coming years, because the 801 is a pretty heavy lift. But we can talk about that.
It's actually 821.
Oh.
As of January, it's 2.5% more now.
All right.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's gone up 2.5. That price of the 801, it had a 10%, I think, increase in it. I know the price is still substantial, but they understood, because at the time when I got that pricing, that was for the ARPA funding. Obviously, we didn't get money for the engine for the ARPA funds for that, but they knew that I would have to go into next June to get the remainder of the money, because I knew it wouldn't be fully funded, but maybe we get part of the money. So that price was from last June or July with, I think, 10% built into it. But he already said that he reached out last week and said it was already up to 2.5% increase as of January 1st. So,
That's something we can look into next year, because we have it on going into the next fiscal year. So.
yep.
And how old is the truck that's gonna replace?
So it's currently, it's 22 years old. The issue is same with the ambulance. The ambulance is from the time you order it, and that, I don't know if it's gotten better or worse. I assume it's about the same. It's about a 2-year delivery time. And the engine at that point in June when we had talked with the rep, the engine at that time would be a 18 to 24 month delivery time. So I don't believe, from things that I have heard, that it's gotten any better. I think it's about the same. So yeah, the engine right now is 22. If we receive funding for it next year, by the time we actually deliver, you're talking the truck's gonna be over 25 years old at that point.
Yeah.
Does that make it an antique?
Not yet. Getting there though.
That's an old rule.
Does
Okay.
it have resale value? It's not.
Yeah,
decrepit, right?
in 2017, we got our last engine, and we traded in 1993 International Cami, and I believe we had $10,000 or $12,000 taken off of that. But it's still sitting on the page of the company that gave the trade in on. So I don't know if that's just by accident or if it really is still sitting in their lot somewhere.
Wow.
I mean, you can turn like that, the Engine 2's 2,500 gallon tanker, so somebody could turn it into a watering truck or something for a farm out west somewhere, you know, so. But the problem with the vehicles from here, it's not, it's the New England weather. That's
right.
It's not the mileage, it's not the hours, it's the weather that just destroys them, so,
Salt on the road and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, to give you an idea of that, to go back to that, when our truck was delivered, that last truck was $450,000 to replace engine 1. And I asked the rep when they dropped it off, I'm like, 4 or 5 years, how much do you think it would be to replace engine 2? And at that time, he said like a little over 500. So I put 550, and the 550's been in there for a while. And now it's gone from 550 just a few years ago all the way up to 800. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And are there any new requirements in all these trucks that we can anticipate that may have to be even further adjusted? I have a good friend of mine who's lives in California, and they're
Yeah.
constantly coming up with stuff up there, and they have to like put new things. left and
Yeah,
right on
but
us.
there's, as far as, I don't think, there's nothing that I'm aware of that would substantially like pass in the next couple of years that would raise that price even more.
Okay.
But you never know.
They do make battery powered fire trucks now.
Tesla does, right?
That must be one big battery.
They're big trucks, yep.
Yeah.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised in the future they will make them.
No, they are making them.
Oh, they are.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, they're using them.
Not surprised. Not surprised. Okay.
And our police cars in the next 6 to 8 years will be fully electric.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense to me. I mean, acceleration is gonna be fantastic on those cars.
That's true. And Chiefs cars.
There you go. Okay.
I don't go fast though, so
Lot of torque.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Okay. Done? No other questions?
No, that was
No,
it.
All right.
just
Alright.
Thanks for your
on
time.
the, when we get the formal request for the fire truck, if we can have the summary of what's on it, I'm just curious.
As far as,
Just the tank and the.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because everything comes, we don't have it equipped.
Right.
Reuse stuff and all that, so, yeah, it'll just be the truck itself, so.
Maybe we can find a home for it somewhere else. Some warm, dry place that's not that shed.
Maybe.
I think Hardwick as a truck is 35 years old.
Wow.
And next year we'll probably need a re-upped quote for the roof at Fire Station 1.
Yeah.
'Cause we have 28, and even when we were talking about that, we're like,
Yeah, like I had said, that one, that is, I actually had that requesting when Brian Bullock was here.
No kidding.
I believe the first time, and it keeps getting kicked down the road.
Because
Um,
a match is better than a new roof.
Yeah, so, and I know that's not the original price that I asked for too. I think Brian increased it a certain percent, but like just everything over the last couple of years has gone up quite a bit. So yeah, I'm sure that number is not correct. It's probably double that.
Probably, yeah.
yep.
Are there any other grants out there that we applied for like the roof repair or?
Not that I'm aware of. They did years ago. They did grant for new fire stations,
Yeah.
and we applied for that. I want to say that was 2010. Could be wrong, but that was the more further along you were in your project, the more likely you were going to get funding, because it was more about getting people back to work and not actually providing new fire stations to communities that need it. So if you already had partial funding, you got more credit than, say, like us at the time. We had no plans, no money. I don't even think that site was ours yet at
No, it
that
wasn't.
point. So we had nothing. We still put in for it, but yeah, and but the further you were in the project, the more funding you had. If you already had plans, you received more points for that. And that's the only time that I've heard of a grant funding for stations.
Those were the good old times.
Yeah.
Well, Ashby is funding theirs through Department of Agriculture. They
Yeah,
do
they'll
it
give you 0% loans for.
2.5%, I think. Yeah,
Well, it used to be 0.
yeah. But there are a lot of bells and whistles you have to add because nothing comes for free.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Lauren, is that someone at the
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Sorry
welcome.
to drag you from home.
Oh, no problem. I'm used
Thank
to
you.
it. You never know when that
Yeah,
leaves.
yeah.
So.
You of all people are used to it,
Yeah.
yep.
Have a good one.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Bill White? Is that your quarterly
That
question?
quarterly question, yeah. So, you know, I've been paying a certain amount and then, is this assessment goes?
All right. Did anyone have any questions on anything else?
All right, so what's the new tally here?
when we 368.5, so,
For that amount.
and that's me going, every time we bring something else that conceivably seems like we were leaning towards yes, I've lowered the amount for additional road repair. So, it seemed like you guys were pro the library project. And we talked about doing the Main Street paving out of that debt line instead of actually putting it.
According to this.
Right.
Can I ask a question on the,
Your bills were maybe
if you're using an
170
OPM,
on
what's
this
the
project?
going rate for an OPM?
So
Yeah,
it would have been just the
150, 200.
land.
Okay. And do we
Depends on
think it-
who it is.
And do we think it's reasonable to think that this is a 40-hour project? I didn't think so either.
No, it'd be 23,
You got, well,
your total tax for the year.
the beauty is it's not gonna be a big procurement where they have to come and interview and all that. It's 3 or 4 phone calls, wanna give me a bid, here's the scope.
Yeah.
But,
So what's more realistic? I mean, it's $9,500.
yeah,
That looks like something
Yeah.
you feel.
cause the bid package alone, just pulling it together and helping them put it on the street. I charge $5,000 for even a simple one.
Okay.
And what's the value of their combined value?
52 something. Let's call it 53.
They're really gonna want a restoration type specialist that, or a
I mean,
jack
I'm
of
just
all
looking at the
trades,
number
you know?
and I'm just saying is that that's a fairly high percentage for the overall value. It's actually
Yeah,
put in
but
here.
it is, it is,
They were also talking about the windows.
and the
Next-
boiler,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so, which we have not added to this cost, and the windows and the boiler.
No, but this, we should ask them to, that person should at least identify that as part, here's what you're going out, here's your prioritization, number
Sure.
one. This is where, we're gonna bid you 1 through 3, and 4 and 5 will be, you will know when you'll carry a number.
I just wanna make sure that we're not putting together a ridiculous number for something that's based on $52,000 budget. I think it makes a lot more sense if it's $9,500, but it's on a, I don't know, $200,000 project, right? It
Well,
just
to
looks,
tell you-
it looks crazy to me when
It
you
is
put,
crazy.
when you put something that is almost $10,000 on something that is gonna be worth $60,000. That's a lot of money just to do the planning.
Mhm.
From my perspective, I don't think that that's reasonable. I mean, in the eyes of somebody, I'm not saying that it's not justifiable, it's just simply, just right off the bat, it does not look very reasonable.
I understand percentage-wise, it's
Yeah.
you're paying a,
A very high premium.
yeah. But who's gonna do it? Who's gonna say, do this and this is why and that, and then
Well, the
they'll put-
question is
put it up to
what
bid.
value are you getting out of this here? And is there truly a big value that you're getting out of the $10,000?
No, you're band-aiding the library, like we're doing with all our infrastructure. I hear what you're saying, and I don't question it, but do you think I'm wrong?
No.
Well, the eye of the public is gonna question this here.
Yeah.
You know, it's the taxpayers who are gonna look at this here and says, why are you spending $10,000 on something that is worth $60,000? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a huge percentage on
Yeah.
that here.
Well, it's also
But
it's projects that they've had money for, what, 3 years now?
Yeah, but, and there's nobody to help them prioritize and put it out to bid. Unless it's a layperson, and I just say.
It just doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, I just tell them that the follow-on construction need to be included in the assessment prioritization.
So how much are you have the numbers, right, for the
Yeah,
other
that's
items?
6.
Let's just sort of get a ballpark figure in terms of what that is for the library.
Library, it was,
So it's 26 for the window we're talking
yeah,
Window
32
replacements.
for window replacement. and
So
40
75 roughly.
Yeah,
Okay, so you add 75 to this whole number, that brings it up to 125, 120, let's say $130,000.
And then they have an interest in a boiler, which is something we were looking into over here from,
Yeah, I'm just worried about that boiler.
yeah, I think it's Green Communities that,
Yeah.
and I'm meeting with them in 2 weeks. The Green Communities people.
Because there was funding coming from them, right?
We thought so.
But we don't know
Do
yet.
We
they
don't know,
have
I
the
don't,
house on the
I don't know
wrong parcel?
100%. I have yet to meet with the Green Communities.
I do remember last year when we had that discussion, Green Communities
I
thought that they had some really good possibilities of
Yeah.
leveraging that because of the fact that there was
I
gonna be some
remember this
significant
being a
energy,
mess.
It was a mess, and I thought we could have
energy
done last time.
reductions,
If I
use
saw that number, I
reductions
knew something
as a
was
result
right.
of the,
So what they did,
and I think
This
one of the
is-
meetings we were actually there, we were hearing it boiling,
This-
full power.
this bill.
Because my predecessor had Green Communities for weatherization upgrades all over the place for
Yeah.
various buildings, lighting upgrades for various places,
So what they
the
did
boiler replacement at the
was they moved the
library,
house onto
and outside
20
air reset
Supposed to
controls
be on 28
Yeah,
here?
the house
at
on
the
28.
Hubbardson Center School,
So
And I
they
have a
moved it.
26, I have a lot of, well,
which
I'll
they're
call it
doing a
26.
project over there right now.
So what they did was they took
Oh, we're upgrading the windows
Yeah.
on the library?
the other
Fall
parcel.
under there?
So apparently they have the house on
It
the
could.
wrong
It could.
parcel.
So, here's
So
a.
if that's the case,
I'm sorry, no, go ahead, John, John.
if that's the case, then hiring a project
I don't have
engineer
the
or
maps,
whatever
but
really wouldn't have
you
any
have
say
two-
in it because
two
they would be
parcels.
controlling the
Yep.
project.
So they took it off of one
Okay,
Maybe.
so, yeah.
and they put it on.
I don't know how
the
they
other.
operate.
So you're gonna be getting a refund.
Yeah, and we're,
of
I kinda hate saying this, we're having a, kind of like a
cents.
kumbaya with the MRPC
Actually,
on Wednesday, just because we had a tremendous amount of turnover, they had a tremendous amount of turnover. We were saying like, oh, who's doing this, we being the collective we, the big we. And they were saying, oh, who's even over there, and it was just a big mess. So now, a couple members of the planning board, the land use clerk and myself are meeting with them on Wednesday to say, all right, no, nobody's fault anymore, let's just get these things back on track and move forward. And we're gonna work together then. So then I'll know a little bit more and a little bit more as we go into the new year. But right now, I haven't really had a sit
You're only
down
gonna pay it twice.
discussion about Green
Because the
Communities
other
or
two
MVP
times,
with the
You only
MRPC.
paid 171 because it was just land.
So that was a long time ago.
MRPC is
I
our
just
grant
paid-
writer.
No, this was in July.
No, MRPC is the planning commission that aids with
Okay, just the
You
planning.
might
Yeah.
have paid 1,200 on this one, yep,
Wachusett
So you
Regional
paid
Planning
1100.
Commission.
Oh, yeah, I know who they
The
are.
other parcel. And now they've moved the house.
Yeah.
George will be here Wednesday.
All right, so can we look at the whole number again?
Yeah.
So what we have here is a total of 368,
You've
but
paid
we have
approximately
significantly reduced
$200,
the,
yes. What they
road.
did-
Yeah, to
By-
85 instead of 100.
Yep.
Even though it's on the wrong lot,
Right.
I paid.
And we also said we're not going to do the fire station.
These are, this is your payment.
Yep, no, because that can come out of the debt line. That's why it's green, but there's no
Right.
number there.
Okay.
But it's on the parcel that they're saying is just the land. So they
Okay.
took your $2,200.
But if we believe that all, like,
paid,
Green Communities
and now you're
is
saying all that's
a
owed on
really
it
good opportunity.
here
And a lot of the projects that the
was-
library is looking to do falls at the very least under the scope of the Green Communities
Right.
Initiative.
Right.
I would
And-
even say the windows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
windows, boiler, like,
That's
mostly,
weatherization.
yeah, that's weatherization, yeah.
On the wrong-
But it's,
Yes, so you paid
where does it
22,
fall
so now
in
we're gonna
terms
do
of all of our other
16.
priorities
Yeah.
as well? And I also can't speak to a actual number quite yet.
How realistic it
And how realistic anything is, A, because I have yet to really sit down with Green Communities, and B, because there's a whole new administration that may fund things differently than the previous administration. And that has yet to be realized because they've only been in office for like 3 days.
Right.
To this
You know
bill,
this feeling.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to pay.
Oh, they did hire a clean,
Twice.
a climate person or
Yeah,
something.
and
In the
economic
cabinet
development.
now.
2,300, so 4,600,
Instead of having to pay 4,600,
yep,
cause that's what's due now.
yep.
So I think that's
I will
how you have to look at that
move
architect line item.
1650 to this,
And it has,
reduce
it
that
should address,
4,600.
3,000.
their foreseeable
Yes.
upgrade scope. Even
That
even
makes
if you're
sense.
getting green communities money, you still want the guy or girl to prioritize. You should do
I'm not
this.
disputing that, I think it is worth the investment, it's just, we need to,
Is the
we need to
one
cushion it with the right numbers.
Mhm.
So that it doesn't come as, why are you spending so much money on something that is for such a small level? And even with the full amount, that still represents roughly about 7%,
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
which is a large number.
Yeah.
I was looking at something more,
7%?
I'm
No,
going to
10.
do.
you were working, from a perspective where you know this here. The layperson who lives here in town is gonna look at this here and saying, what?
Oh, the public sector work, yeah.
And
It
that
just,
this one we've
It's
applied
just-
to 1650.
But I mean, in regards
that
to the overall numbers,
that's
that's
23,000.
chump change. I mean, it's a very small,
I wish I would have asked them when they were here if we gave them the 6, could they guarantee that the project was gonna happen, even if they had to use some of the,
well, there's what, the other thing I was coming at. I mean, I was originally thinking, $3,500 is really not that much. The point though is that if they're asking for 6,000, you grant them the 6,000, and it did sound to me that they do have
they
some
do.
additional funding.
And I went to their meeting this past week, they're looking for kind of ways to be allowed to use some trust fund monies as well, because the trust fund money, a lot of it's tied up with red tape. So they want assistance in being able to free up some of it for use in one of their trust funds. It's not a crazy amount of money, like 15 or 20 grand is for building maintenance and that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
there are different opportunities for the library trustees, more than some other entities.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking that the $3,500 is not gonna make or break any other things that we have here.
Nope.
But I think to Bill's point, doing this here correctly right from the beginning,
Yes.
instead of them coming back and say, geez, we got somebody who did this here, but they did a shoddy work,
Yeah,
I don't know what.
it's just not worth it.
absolutely.
And that
Um,
they still have to do with the timing of the house being put on.
What are we getting for $85,000 from road work? What does that really truly represent?
He spent it in the
Travis
last year.
said 100,000 would do
I am too, but
Birches,
sometimes.
fix that up, and there was one other road he
Yeah, there's
was
one other,
mentioning.
it's not much.
I'll
No.
make the switch and
No.
I will mail
Yeah.
you,
But, I mean,
once
not
yours
much
stop
is
back in
something
sometime,
better
I
than
can
nothing.
mail
Yeah,
It's,
and
uh,
it
one of
is
these that will
a
show this is applied.
a goal of
to
ours
the
to
bill,
maintain
and it's
a high level of money, because if you let it go for 1 year,
Yeah.
then the next year you're also saying, oh, well, we made it last year, and then suddenly we're not.
No, I'm in full agreement.
Yeah,
If
and I'm not
anything, I'm
sure,
very
like I said,
concerned
I'm not
that
sure they
85,000 is
enough.
not enough.
Yeah.
We've had years where our roads were, Hillville Road, we remember that 15 years ago, how terrible it was. And there's already some cracks coming
Yeah,
up
so we
here and
can
there, and I
think
haven't
of-
seen, the retarring or anything of that nature happening again.
Yeah, even the parts of Grimes Road that they did, contractor out of Sterling worked on that section, there's no cracking. And along the shoulders,
we'll figure it out.
it's collapsing.
but in Hillville, I didn't realize it, but
We will get this
they never
fixed
put a
again.
base course of pavement.
Have a good night.
They didn't know it?
You're supposed to do 2 courses of pavement. I only did 1.
Is that
That's how they got so many miles of road done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay,
So bringing that number back up to 100,000 and bringing the library assessment down to 6,000 has us at 380 even.
but that goes above what our target is.
Yeah, by $10,000.
By $10,000.
Yep. Yep. And that's with us being able to put the Main Street repaving into the deadline.
Right.
Because Francois's point was that $100,000 isn't really doing a ton of roads, never mind 85 or 75 or whatever we ended
No,
up.
I know.
I mean, and roads do benefit pretty much the whole population.
Yes.
And regardless as to what road it is, it always has an impact on everybody in
Mhm.
town.
Yep, yep. Bad roads, wear and tear on the equipment, and then we gotta replace the equipment.
Okay, so you're gonna move the architect back to 6,000?
So we were talking about, because the library board of trustees does have more funding available
Yeah.
to them than some other entities in town.
I think we just need to
And
encourage
it's
them
what they
to
ask for.
find that extra
Yes,
money from
that's
there, and
true.
that it's worth going and leveraging that. We're assisting,
Absolutely.
and,
They should
but they
find-
need to come up with something also.
Yep. I agree completely. We're still 10 over though.
Oh,
And then also put, I mean, you already changed the Ford to an F-250, but now it's not a plow, it's just the F-250.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
but it sounds to me like he's saying it's okay, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
He
he did say
sounded
it.
quite happy with it.
And the plow kit, if you look on here, I wanna say was
Plow.
only 250.
That's the plow prep package.
Yeah, the plow
on it,
prep, so
that'd be-
when it's time and he's able to buy a plow, he'll be able to hook it up
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
Just for a second.
Okay. I'm gonna ask a real darn question.
Yeah.
Out of your last item on row 22, how much do you realistically use every year? The full amount?
Do you have that number with us?
IT replacement?
I don't,
And I know that number is not a very large number.
no,
No.
it's not, and there again, the price of everything's gone up from when
Yeah,
Ryan had made the original number.
so you are fully utilizing that, is what you're
Yes, we
basically
do
saying.
have a plan and I can pull the IT plan. the
I,
next-
no, I trust that you have, and if you're coming in and saying, hey, we only use typically 15,000,
Yeah.
there's $5,000 you can scrounge around and you can work with that, but,
Right.
No, in keeping everything moving, I think it was this year a server in the COA.
Yeah.
oh, didn't we talk about AWS?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the story, did you find, I mean, I know we haven't had much time
Yeah.
since then.
No, I'm not gonna lie, I have not.
Okay.
Like, this is
Oh, that's-
just, there's
that-
been
that-
so much going on.
is fine.
I in the same time as you was just like, oh, I should have looked into that, and I still can, cause I do believe that buying hard servers maybe isn't the way to go long term, so.
I would certainly encourage you to explore that and maybe even find out if there's other municipalities that, towns within the municipality that have had that experience and can
Absolutely.
potentially leverage this here.
Yeah, cause I want to say we spend $13,000 a year on just the cloud for the Laserfish. I wanna say like that's, so we're already making a substantial investment into cloud storage options for something.
Which makes
So,
perfect sense because you
yes.
do not wanna have that, be,
on site.
well, it, if you lost it because you had a fire or whatever,
Yeah,
that will be terrible.
yes, it will.
Whereas having it in the cloud guarantees you to a certain extent the availability.
Mhm.
So I think there's something to be said about that. Well, I don't know how much saving you can get out of that, but it's certainly something to maybe potentially look and see if that number
Absolutely.
can be leveraged, and to bring something out. I mean, I think right now, based on what you're seeing here, you're down to the bare bones. I think that the $6,000, which is what they asked for from the library, that's what and they're getting it.
Yep.
And it's just making them aware that they need to,
Mhm.
think realistically, maybe going out and not, adding another 50% to that number, minimally,
Yeah.
in order to do the right job. And they
Mhm.
need to find that funding from some other resources that they have, access to.
Even if it's their money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, then the only other question, I think the only other wiggle room that we may have here, I mean, the only other wiggle room would be is the ambulance and the garage roof, but we've heard that that's pretty,
Hold on, let me go look at the budget real quick, cause there may be wiggle room.
And the budget?
The budget, I call it the budget file that I'm opening, right?
okay.
Budget file.
If you
that-
have wiggle room, you show me.
No, not in the budget, in the free cash numbers we were working with.
Oh,
You really like this picture of a flower, huh? You picked it for everything.
me?
I thought you.
I can't see the roof being less than 100,000.
Alright, so we were 8062289, free cash used at special town meeting, available free cash 708374, free cash repurpose. Sandy and I were talking about a school offset and holding on to that 130, but we'll see how that actually goes in town meeting time. Free gives us free cash for FY24 ATM capital of 370. Free cash holdover FY24 to transfer to stabilization 50,000. Free cash for other uses 158. So if we wanted to, we could fund the 380 and bring that down to 148, which is still about $150,000 for other uses.
How do you feel about that?
What other uses?
Mostly the schools is what we're trying to hold aside some money, cause we know there's gonna be an increase, substantial increase, in just trying to hold on to the staff that we have here and, you know, the budget lines that we have, because, you know, everything else has gone up, postage has gone up, so for me, even to send out bills is gonna be, you know, there's an increase there, and it's not just me, it's the town clerk, because they send out the census and dog license, you know.
How has that number compared to last year's number?
Have to go back and look.
I mean, just ballpark, is it
I
bigger, is it
honestly
smaller,
don't
is it
know.
the same roughly?
I think it's roughly the same,
Okay,
yeah, I mean,
and what did you do with the numbers from last year, were they fully utilized?
oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
To the
And
penny.
then some, we still had $189,000 deficit
I get it,
after town meeting,
but that was because of school.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
that
was
was the
be-
whole issue of,
right,
Quabbin.
yeah.
I mean,
It's 10 grand.
Yeah.
You know, if you take it off of there, you take it off of there.
I guess my question here is if you have $85,000 for road repair versus $100,000 for road repair, what are you losing?
And it would be 90 at this point.
Yeah, it would be 90,000. I know, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so you bring it down to, so what are you losing for the 10?
Not much.
Not much.
Cross culvert here and
Driveway.
there. It's a good chunk of change.
Yeah, no, I get it. Again, I'm very
Maybe
concerned
100
about
feet
the
of
fact that,
pavement.
you know, doing shoddy work, and it's not shoddy work, it's just, that's not the right word, it's just doing things because you have to cut corners because you don't have the budget, and not
I
being
know.
able to do something that will preserve that road for another 5 extra years
I
or 3
agree.
extra years, whatever that is, that's a huge amount. Or even just being able to go down a road and retarring the cracks or things of that nature,
Yes.
that makes a big,
It does.
big, impact on
I
a
will
road.
say, there is a bill in the legislature to up the chapter 90 monies this year. Where it's gonna go, nobody knows, but that money has not been increased in over 15 years. We've gotten the same 350-ish thousand every year for the past 15 years. So if they do that, then there would be more money available for roads, but
Yep.
at this point, that's anybody's guess still.
So, I mean, how about just leaving it at 90,000 and just making sure that you have enough wiggle room on your end to be able to maneuver?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I agree with that line of thinking, cause we're asking all the departments, you gotta stay within
Yes.
your, but here's what you have to spend, and you gotta live with
Yeah.
that and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. So, let's see what that comes out to now. That brings it to 390, right?
370.
I'm sorry, 370.
Yep.
Then,
That's where we're supposed to be.
And that's where we're
Yep.
supposed to be with,
so I I mean, that, I feel comfortable voting for this year.
Yeah, I would just ask for your motion to have me draft up a final report.
Well, let's
and
have a discussion before we do the motion, then we'll have the discussion. I mean, do you feel like that? Bill, what's your thought?
Bye, Lauren.
Good night.
Rock and hard spot.
Yep.
Don't really have a choice.
But you'd be willing to look for this here and say, yep, this makes, it's the best thing we can do with what we have.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we, accept the proposed 2023 budget as it has been outlined here on our, board here, in the amount of $370,000 with the itemized items that, are so marked.
For fiscal year.
For fiscal
24.
2023. Sorry, 2024, right?
Yep.
Yep, sorry, 2024.
Second.
Okay? You wanna call the vote?
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Alright, and I will draft up the report and bring it to our next meeting to be accepted or edited.
Yeah?
Maybe you'll get some good news and change
Maybe I'll
it.
get some good news in the middle. If you guys wanna name
Maybe somebody wins the lottery and is very
Yeah.
generous to the town, right? Tonight,
we'll go 2 weeks from tonight.
That's tomorrow night.
or tomorrow night.
2 weeks from tonight, or
Ouch.
I don't think this will take me long to.
Twenty-third?
That's what I was thinking.
That's fine for me.
The 23rd? On Monday?
Monday.
I have a meeting
Alright.
at 6:30 in Leominster.
The 30th? Trying to stick to Mondays because that's the night Sandy has to stay till 6 anyhow. So
I mean, it doesn't have, yeah, okay. I can do the 30th.
Till 30th?
yeah, 5 p.m. if that works for everybody.
Okay.
It fits in the overall schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Move to adjourn.
I second that.
All
None.
in favor?
Aye.
Thank you guys very, very much.
All right.
Get that drafted up.